Thank you very much for listening to this story. I was asked to tell it by some friends of mine. It's really a sequel. It's really a story about starting over and doing it differently the second time. I thought to make it easy on you, indeed I would make it a sequel to a story that you already understand. And that may make it easier for you. That's the good news. The bad news is I'm going to use about 20 terms that are new words for you folks, which is a storyteller's no-no, is to make up a new vocabulary so that everybody in the audience doesn't understand. But I can't help it. It's the story. I have put a vocabulary list up here. You don't need the vocabulary list to listen to the story or to get the story. But if the story provokes you in any way, the vocabulary list may help you later on. So the story is Charles Dickens' sequel to the Christmas Carol. Ebenezer has retired, hit by a bus, killed while skipping across Happy Lane. Not to worry, shareholders, he has turned the company over to Jacob Marley's two sons, Jim and Joe. I would be Jim. Joe would be my partner, Joe Marino. We've worked together for 30 years, and we took care of Ebenezer's company. We took care of Ebenezer's company and grew it to 1,700 people. We were successful, everything was good. But what was important is that we were very, very different. And I think that's the magic in this room is not what we know, it's our differences. So the magic lies in the differences between us. So Joe and I are very different. Can I get a how different are you? Anybody? How different are you? Well, in terms of superpowers, we would be Geek Boy and Square Man, okay? And Joe's superpowers is he has a ton of engineering degrees and a master's degree from Harvard. He's like MacGyver. There's no engineering problem or business problem that Joe Marino can't solve. That's his superpower. Geek Boy's superpower is that he can go for days without sleep, living on just junk food, and can solve some interesting problems armed with nothing but ones and zeros. He doesn't need 2 through 9s at all to solve a problem. So ones and zeros are his superpowers. And together they worked running Ebenezer Scrooge's company. Let's get a visit from the ghost of Christmas past and look at 1999. In 1999, we were exercise freaks. We had gone public 8 years earlier, and we loved the quarterly treadmill. Now, exercise is supposed to be good for the mind and body. For some reason, we were gaining weight, getting frustrated, angry with each other, not having fun. And if you slipped up a little bit, if any innovative thought you had affected a graph or had risk associated with it or spent $1, I mean, innovation was not something you could do running this big public company. So in 1999, we were exercising and not having fun. What happens? Somebody comes along and says, what do you say I buy this 1,700 person company and fold it into my company? Well, we weren't having any fun, so why not? So what happens is when you sell a 1,700 person company, you're immediately off the treadmill and you fall into a big pile of independence. Okay? So I just about had it with Marino. I go, Joe, it's been fun, but it's just one of those things. I'm going to go do my thing and retire because that's what people do. So I go, all right, where do people retire? They go to Florida. That's what I decided to do. I went to the east coast of Florida, I went to the west coast of Florida, and what I discovered was the last rest stop just before that big bingo heaven, big bingo hall in the sky. And I was afraid that I was going to blend pretty easily. And it seemed to me that not being on this treadmill was really what I needed. It wasn't that I needed to be in Florida. It wasn't that I needed to retire. I needed to stop not having fun. So I excused myself from the buffet line, came back to find Marino. What's Joe Marino doing with his independence? Well, Joe was calculating the solution to the game of golf. So you can imagine how he was doing. I said, Joe, how's your golf? He goes, it's awful. He goes, how's Florida? I go, it's awful. So we said, well, Joe says, Jim, what if we could do it again? what if we could start over and take all the things we did right for 25 years and do them again, and take all the things we did wrong and not do them, just learn from those mistakes? What if we could do that? And we said, all right, what did we do right? And what we really did right was we had a ton of fun, and we had a lot of smart people. So in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, we built up a big labor force, and it worked underneath us, and we had fun. Now, we did a lot of stuff wrong. So we made our lists, and I have my pet peeves, Joe has his pet peeves, but what we really knew we did wrong was innovation. We dorked it up. We couldn't have done it worse. Imagine Jimi Hendrix comes into a room and he's got a new idea for a song. And he's standing in front of 6 fat white guys with their arms folded, asking him if he's looked at all the other music ever published in the world to see if his song is really unique. Or if he's done an analysis of the cost of money. Or if he's looked at doing this offshore, because maybe we don't have to do it here. Okay. And there's always the boss who doesn't even talk to Jimmy. He asks the lawyer, is there any risk? I call it when the inventor meets the preventers. And that's what's really stopping innovation, is white guys that haven't written a song in a lot of years that stop the innovator with stupid questions. So we said we got to do innovation differently. So we didn't like pyramids. What's wrong with a pyramid? A pyramid reaches some smart guys at the top that are in charge of a labor force. That's wrong. In today's environment, it's a knowledge force, not a labor force. The gold mine, the treasure in your organization is between the ears of the people that are already there. You just have to harvest it. So we decided in 2000 we would start a company, and let's visit the ghost of Christmas last. 2004, we had started a company called Rite-Solutions. And we said, we're going to do it right this time. And we've done a lot of things differently. To our surprise, they are working. But in 2004, we still hadn't gotten innovation right. And there were a lot of casualties. We tried a lot of stuff, starting at the bottom of the food chain with a suggestion box, and going to these innovation chambers, going to these quarterly innovation summits. We hung these huge cling sheets all over the building with magic markers right next to them so people could innovate on the spot, okay? Now, you really know it's not working when you walk down the hallway and there's just cling sheets. I mean, apparently people didn't get it, that we wanted some brilliant ideas to be written down on the wall. It didn't work, okay? We failed. So in 2004, we're scratching our heads, and we haven't solved the innovation problem. Damn it! Just some emotion. So we wrote a spec, because my friend Marino's an engineer. What are the must-be's? The solution must be certain things. It must be fun. Got to be fun. Okay? Knowledge workers want to have fun. Okay? It's got to involve everybody, because the brilliance is between the ears. It's just, you got to harvest it. You have to harvest that collective genius. You have to provoke thought. Knowledge workers want to think. Old days, the guys at the top did the thinking, the guys at the bottom did the execution. Knowledge workers don't work like that. The biggest thing is it had to be sticky. People want to do it. You got to do it in such a way that they want to keep doing it. It's got to be a 24/7 kind of thing that people are moving the company forward. Not an easy problem to solve. I've read all the books. They describe the symptoms, and they describe what happens when you're cured, but they don't describe how to fix it. So, interestingly enough, this problem didn't get fixed until it got more complex. In 2004, we hired 12 new people in San Diego, a person in Albuquerque, a person in Norfolk, a person in Washington, D.C., and a bunch more people in Rhode Island. Well, now, hanging clean sheets on the wall was a non-starter. Doing quarterly meetings was a non-starter. This problem became complex, and then it became solvable. So, I'm driving to work on 102 in Exeter, listening to NPR, and blah, 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 blah. The NASDAQ is up sharply because Gates did something clever. The Dow Jones continues to increase based on blah, 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 ding, ding, ding. Well, I said the word on Route 102 that I hope to never say in public again, and that is bingo. I had it. I had it. It came to me in a flash, and you'll find out that most innovations, when you get them, you don't say eureka, you go duh, because the answer was there. I come running into work, I grab Marino, we go into a room, I go, I got it. He goes, yeah. So it took us 2 weeks to design the answer. It took us 3 months to develop the answer because it's software, it's a game. It's an online game that people play. So, long story short, we think we solved the problem with an online game for geniuses. Now, do I think everybody that works for me is a genius? No. I think everyone that works for me has genius. They have genius in them. And it's timing. Timing is everything. So we developed an online game that is fun to play. It provokes you to think. And there's 2 sandboxes that you can play in. There's an opinion sandbox. It's just a big community playground where your intellect goes into the opinion playground, and you go in that sandbox and you play. Then there's a realization. It's no good to innovate if you don't realize, if you don't reap it, if you don't harvest it. Just getting people to think doesn't work. So you have to harvest that. And what happens in any sandbox, is that a sign that I'm just about done? Okay.
No, a little bit.
It's okay, all right.
You'll know.
All right. So, if, like in any sandbox, people go into a sandbox to learn. They go into play. They go into shape things. And that's what happens in this community playground. Now, here's the bad news. All of those are terms you don't understand, but all my people talk like that now. Okay? But needless to say, the big bullets, I've provoked people to think. We've provoked people to think. They've provoked people to think. Everybody's thinking every day because they have additional bandwidth. Everybody has a day job, but knowledge workers all have bandwidth. We've aligned that thinking to indexes. Those indexes happen to be SPASDAC, which is wackadoodle ideas that might work. They're technologies that we should be learning. They're new things that are emerging that might be worth trying. High risk, but potentially the long ball. Dow Jones, in our wheelhouse. We know how to do it, not too different, not too risky, not too shaky. And savings bonds, doing business more efficiently and more effectively. Ways to save money. But the real thing about this game is you harvest the collective wisdom of everybody playing the game. They're having fun, we're having fun, couldn't be more fun. Now, I don't know about you guys, I can't wait for the visit from the Ghost of Christmas Future. Imagine an organization or an agency or a state that is a state that is guided by its collective intellect and fueled by its combined genius. So I can't wait for that to happen. So my time is up. However, this story goes on. I can tell you how it won't end. It very likely will not end like this. Thank you.